You gonna talk? This is your job.
Yeah, I was just like, do I need to wave back?
I don't know. You didn't do anything. I just kind of it's a weak start to a podcast.
Well,
go ahead.
We'll kick it off now. We are inside Black and Gold. Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak, in our first post-game edition of the season. How's it going out west? Jeff is out in California, sitting on the sidelines yesterday, enjoying some preseason action. I heard from Deuce and you that it was actually hot on field level yesterday.
I don't know if hot's the word. It was just kind of muggy. I hate that stadium, man. I say this all the time. Bobby forced me to talk about it on air yesterday, which is like, I don't know if the company appreciates us trashing SoFi Stadium on the air, but hey, it is what it is.
You don't have to worry about it being a local sponsor at all. Screw SoFi.
I don't even know what is it, insurance? Like, what is SoFi? Or it's like a personal loan thing. Yeah, like a refinancing or loans. Anyway, yeah, so we got real football to talk about. I am in California. I wish everyone could see the setup that I actually have here. It's so janky, but I did want to have like a window behind me to mess around with. So it's kind of nice, right? Like you can see,
it's very nice.
You might see some like kids running around because there's a volleyball court right outside my window. So don't be concerned that they're supposed to be there. They are being supervised. But hey, yeah, so we got football to talk about. We're out here until freaking Thursday. So we got multiple days of practice. Sounds like they may even have a joint practice. So that might give us something to aspire to this upcoming week. But yeah, this episode it's gonna be a little different. Like I've done in the last several episodes. We're gonna start out talking about the quarterback competition and then go into everything else. So like the studs and duds will come in the second and third segment. And then we're going to close out with a live mailbag as we do. So get your comments, questions, everything in the chat. We're gonna hit a break here pretty quick before we get into the quarterbacks. But Steve, could you kind of just give me your like 1,000-foot view? How are you feeling a day after the preseason opener?
I think it's crazy, but honestly, I feel better about Tyler Shough today than I did going into the preseason game, and that might seem wild considering he tossed the pick six, but it was better than his performance was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk a lot more about the quarterback competition.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. Like there's a lot of things that I thought went well, and we'll get into this in the dud segment. Like there's a lot of negatives to talk about. One issue that I have with how most people approach preseason games, particularly like the first and the third preseason game, is people try to make kind of broad assessments of offense good, offense bad, defense good, defense bad. Do they have enough playmakers? Do they not have enough playmakers? And you just can't do that in these games. You just can't, because there's just not enough people on the field to be like, well, that's what the offense is going to look like. Is it? That pick six, for example, like if that's Olave running that route, is the DB sitting on it? Or is he kind of playing back a little more because he's worried about getting burned? Like Dante Pettis is a different story. So just like, I think with preseason games, especially, the first and the third one, second one, when you have all the starters out there, like you assume it's a little different, but like, you got to look at players, you got to look at individuals and make determinations on, okay, what do you think about how this player played, how this player played? Have you learned how to say Torricelli Simpkins the third, stuff like that? But no, like I thought there was a lot of positives to pull out of that game, even though, you look at the score, you're like, and they didn't get shut out. So that's a start, because that building has been a house of horrors for the Saints just in general.
The biggest negative to me, honestly, Jeff, was the amount of injuries that they ended up sustaining.
Yes. And we'll talk more about that. But let's hit a quick break. We're going to come back, and I just want to dive in all on the quarterbacks specifically. We got sound from Kellen Moore, Tyler Shough, Spencer Rattler. We're going to go through all of that. Again, this is Inside Black and Gold. I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller, coming at you. Well, one of us is in Louisiana. One of us is in California, as all good podcasts should be. We got multiple time zones covered. It's noon for me. It's almost 2 p.m. for you guys, but people are hanging out. So let's talk about it. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller, Inside Black and Gold. Make sure to subscribe. We will be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller coming at you on Monday, the day after the Saints preseason opener. The Saints lost 27-13 to the Chargers. There's a lot to talk about on the defensive side of the ball, but I want to start with the most important question and the most important conversation and the stuff we've talked about and we continue to talk about. We won't stop talking about it even after the conversation is over. We'll keep talking about it. Is the quarterbacks, right? And Spencer Rattler, 7 of 11, 53 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did lose a fumble, 75.2 quarterback rating. Tyler Shough, 15 of 22, a lot more passing attempts, very similar snap totals. I think Shough had 30, and Shough had one more snap than Spencer, but he threw 11 more passes. So there's a lot more passing game going on when Tyler was in the game. Part of that's because you were in a 2-minute drill when he came in. But yeah, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That interception was a pick 6. But he did bounce back immediately after that interception with the long touchdown to Mason Tipton, which, I was starting to wonder if they were ever even going to attempt to throw downfield. They did to Kevin Austin in that 2-minute drill. But, one of the reasons you sit on those underneath routes is because the defense is like, they're not going over the top. And then they did, and it worked. But yeah, 86.4 quarterback rating. My initial take, just kind of a broad take, was that I think the quarterbacks ended up playing more than Kellen Moore probably intended going in. And it's because of the George Costanza rule of preseason, which is, you want to have guys go out on a high. You definitely don't want them to go out on a low. You're okay with them going out on kind of a kind of innocuous, like, he punted, whatever. But I think the initial plan was to give Spencer 4 drives and get him out of there. Well, the problem is at the end of that 4th drive, they had a strip sack. And it's like, well, you don't want to have his day end on a strip sack. So they gave him another drive. And then there was a long Chargers drive. So Tyler Shough didn't get in until the 2-minute warning, like be inside the 2-minute drill. And so you wanted to match those snaps, which is why Tyler played until he did. And then Jake Haener, who was probably intended to get most of the 4th quarter, ended up getting like 2 drives towards the end of the game. So that's kind of just how the preseason goes. Like the best laid plans don't always match up. But what were your kind of thoughts on Rattler in particular? Because you did talk about Shough a little bit.
Yeah, and it did say something to me, at least, that I was surprised that why not just let Rattler finish out the entire first half and give him that 2-minute experience, but you decided to bring the rookie in. So I was like, all right, interesting. Changing it up here right now. I didn't have a problem with it at all. And like I said, did like what we saw more from Spencer, from Tyler Shough this time around. Seemed a little more decisive, but he still has that tendency. We've seen he holds the ball, but nothing like so serious from a rookie quarterback right now. But I didn't expect him to be as efficient. Definitely appreciated seeing more of stretching the field with Spencer. It was kind of ho-hum. I wasn't really blown away by it, but I don't think it sucked either. It was very middling. I'm sorry to say.
This is what Kellen Moore had to say when he was asked kind of to evaluate all 3 quarterbacks after the game.
I think for all 3, there's going to be some good moments. There's going to be some moments we want to have back. We get to learn from those, get better this week. I thought, Spence did some good stuff coming out of there, using his feet in some situations where he had some avoided zone areas. He was able to make some plays out of it. Probably for us, just playing some situational football, we were close on getting in the range for some points, and we just weren't able to get those things done. Tyler played a little bit more just between the second and third quarter. Great 2-minute drive right before the half. I thought he did some really good things there. He felt under control. I thought he managed the situations really, really well. You throw a pick, you got to respond. And obviously no one wants to throw an interception. The way he responded was really, really good. For him to come back and handle that, from an emotional standpoint really well. I thought that was awesome. And then he made a big play to tip there. And, Jake, just the way it played out, Jake only had those last 2 drives. He hopped in there, obviously, unfortunately. He had us moving, and then, unfortunately, the pick again. So, a big lesson for us is just we got to protect the football.
Protect the ball, indeed.
Hold on. This is a weird setup for me, so I'm not able to I'm trying to get us back to the setup I want. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Is that like a nice little pond behind you?
I wouldn't call it a pond. It's a volleyball court.
Oh, okay. My eyes are terrible then. I was like, oh, Jeff's like, I'm like ready to throw a little fishing rod out there.
I can't get to. Well, this is annoying.
Here's a story of a lovely lady.
There we go. Got it. Got it. We're good, y'all. We're good. Yeah, all three quarterbacks had a turnover, right? Jake Haener had an interception. Tyler Shough had an interception, both to Eric Rodgers, who had a pretty solid game. And Spencer had a strip sack. And I think the biggest negative was the strip sack because I don't think it had to happen. Like with Tyler's, it's one of those situations where, again, like, hey, if that's Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, is the DB sitting on it like that? Like he did say, like, hey, I that's the right throw. Like that's what we were looking for. We got off coverage. It's just a weird situation when you have, wide receivers that the DBs are not respecting. You have a rookie who the defense is clearly playing underneath. They're going to sit on routes, and you got to keep them honest. They did that probably one drive too late, right? Like you'd ideally like to identify, oh, they're sitting on the underneath route, so let's run that double move before they get the pick six, not after they get the pick six. But it's kind of a live and learn situation. Rookies are going to throw interceptions. That's just what's going to happen. I'd like to think that the second-year quarterback is a little bit more aware of the pressure in that situation. Yes, Dylan Radins got torched on that play. So it's not like he was holding on to the ball forever. But it was coming from this front side. He should be able to feel that rush. He'd either slide away from it or at least protect the ball. And he just didn't see it. And that's the concern I have, because last year that was an issue for him, was identifying pressure. And it's a tough trend. There's a few things with Spencer that have continued to kind of come up. I think he struggles in the red zone. We've seen that throughout practice. We saw that last year, and I think in this game, it's like, man, you got to drive starting at the 17. Man, you got to finish that off, right? Like I need points there. And it's not his fault they couldn't run it in from the 1 yard line. But I don't know. Like, I have not seen him execute outside of that Washington game last year. I haven't seen him execute in the red zone, and that's not good. Like, I need you to finish drives with points. One of the criticisms of Spencer that I think is valid is there's a lot of empty calories in his game, right? Like, there are a lot of drives. Heck, just in that building, go back to last year when they played the Chargers. There's just a lot of drives where you're stacking first down, and then nothing. Like, you get around midfield and then nothing, like you're one play away from getting yourself into field goal range, and instead you're punting. And that just happens too much of the time. That said, I don't think he had a bad day. It's just, you're not getting you don't have the stars playing with you. Like, you're not throwing to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara. Everything gets easier when those guys get in there. I thought he used his legs well. He was the Saints' leading rusher in this game. I will say that Spencer, one of the things I appreciate about Spencer is that he's not playing for next week. He's not playing for next month or next season. He's playing for right now. And you see some of the hits he accepted in a preseason game just because, like, I'm getting this. That run down to the 1 yard line, like, the reason you went for it on fourth down was because Spencer decided, instead of, it's preseason, I'm not going to get rocked here in the first quarter of a preseason game and a 0-0 game. He's like, oh, I'm going for it. I'm going full, like, Willie Beeman down for the goal line, and they stop him at the 1. And it's like, that's what you're going to get out of Spencer. And that's why I appreciate, like, I don't hate the idea that, hey, I think he's still going to start. I like what we saw out of Shough. I think he's developing like you want him to. But I don't know. Like, if you're going to put that guy in there, I like the idea that he's just going to go for it. Although I do think from a self-preservation perspective, I think he needs to dial up his meter of what merits taking a big hit on a scramble, because he took like 3 or 4 in that game. Then I was like, man, you're 6 feet, like 190, right? Like, you're not meant to be taking those hits. So I don't know. Like, I think Spencer is what he is. And the question's not necessarily Shough versus Rattler at this point. The question is Tyler, do you believe that Tyler can develop into a legit NFL starter? And do you believe that Spencer can be a short-term option with upside? And if the answer to both of those questions is yes, I think you have what you have.
I think my answer for Rattler is definitely yes. I'm not sure yet about Shough.
Yeah, well, you know what? That game, let's hear from Tyler. He was asked to kind of evaluate his day. And I thought he had some, one thing with Tyler is he's going to be honest with you, which I appreciate. Like, I don't sense that he's BSing you when he answers questions. But so let's hear what he had to say.
Positive, or how do you review a day like that?
No, I mean we didn't end up winning, and obviously we didn't get the job done. But I think for me, just kind of coming first game, and each day, like I said before, I feel more and more comfortable, just coming out there and playing. I think that's what I'm best at, and each day just getting chemistry with the guys. Just really proud of everyone, especially Torselli, the O-line coming in. Will getting hurt early. That's not easy, playing a really, really full game. So it was just exciting to get out there, and we'll kind of keep stacking days.
Was this kind of
Hold on one second. So, yeah, I mean, with Tyler, I think, one of the things I like about Tyler is the pace he plays at. He doesn't seem to get sped up, and it's interesting because in camp practices, I did feel like he was getting sped up a little bit. In this game in particular, I felt like he played on time. And there was a couple play and there's what you like about his game. And it's one of the criticisms of coming in is he throws the ball away a lot. Well, in the NFL as a young player, there are times I need you to throw the ball away. Like he gets in a 2-minute situation. And people are going to go back and look at that touchdown throw, and it's going to be the highlight, and they're going to play that clip. I think the 2-minute situation was way more impressive because he just gets in that scenario. And granted, it's something they've been repping in practice a lot, so he probably does feel pretty comfortable there. But like, those are the moments that can decide games. And you don't need 7 there, but you do want to get 3. And a young player a lot of times will take too many risks when you get down into scoring territory. And it's like, you already got 3. Make sure you get 3. Give yourself a chance for 7, but make sure you get 3. And there were multiple plays on that drive that he was stretching the ball out or stretching the play out to the edge of the field. And it was like, you know what, there's nothing there. Throw it away, live to play another down. And, that's why, instead of an interception, a bad play, a mistake, you get a positive result. Even that final play, like, he's extending it. He manages to get the ball out of bounds, stop the clock. If he takes a sack there, half's over. They didn't have a timeout. They wouldn't have had time to come back and run a Mayday kick. So I actually think I really appreciated that drive a lot more. And it's just, and people aren't going to talk about it as much because the Mason Tipton highlight, which was great, great route, great catch, great throw, is the exciting part. But, when you're talking about, is a guy ready to play? Executing in those scenarios where you got to be specific, you got to be on time, you got to operate the offense, got to avoid penalties, got to avoid mistakes. That's the encouraging part for me.
Yeah, I'm right with you with the 2-minute drill, just because you're coming in cold too, and the team you saw the offensive struggles though still with Rattler, and it sucks not having Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and Rashid.
No run game whatsoever. Neither guy got any support from the run game.
And Juwan Johnson, also another guy that was out. But your main artillery still. Poor Spencer Rattler is always out there without, even when he's running with the ones in a game situation, it still wasn't really the ones. Offensive line wise, I thought that was a bit of a deterrent, because I felt like we saw them struggle from Penning to Ruiz. And then we had injuries with Clapp and actually also with Penning. So just so many things there with the O-line were disturbing that went wrong. Were a bit of a bummer, and hoping we find out more, I guess, about Penning's the main one, obviously, to see how he's doing. But Radins came in, didn't have a really good showing. So there's a lot of concerns still with the O-line for me. Even I would say the starting unit, because of the ineptitude we saw from not just one guy. There was a few guys that just didn't have it together. Luckily, nothing really I felt with Fuaga or Banks, but really the interior.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first game where you got a kind of a new group, so I'm not going to, I do want to talk about it in the scope of the quarterbacks. Like, I do feel like the offensive line gave the quarterbacks time for the most part. The strip sack, obviously not. There was the play where Tyler Shough got sacked and, dinged up his knee. And I'm a little concerned about the knee. I asked him after practice he was asked in the locker room about it. He was had his knee wrapped with ice. And he said it's just a bruise. He said he fell on and it kind of bent it. And so it's a bruise. But I don't know. Anytime I see a quarterback gimpy with a knee, we'll see it on Tuesday. If he's out there and he's not limited and he looks good, then I'll stop, having my finger near the alarm bells. But if he misses the day and suddenly it's something that's going to impact his progression in the preseason, that's a major thing, right? Like, if we're talking about a quarterback battle, who's going to start week 1? Well, it's possible that in 3 weeks we can look back to this game and be like, well, one of the reasons he's not really in this conversation is because he lost time due to a hopefully minor knee issue. So just something to watch. That final drive that he was in there, I did think, he was moving, because the injury happened prior to that. He was on the sideline. He was flexing it out. Like, it was clearly uncomfortable. He took some aspirin, got back in. So it's good to see that he was able to get in and move around. But he was avoiding running. Like, he was getting outside the pocket. He was doing what he had to do, but definitely wasn't as nimble as he would like to be. And you take that away, and I think it becomes a lot more difficult for him if he's not able to extend. Because one of the things I liked from him was his ability to kind of see pressure and work away from it. He's a big dude, so he can escape arm tackles in a way that not a lot of quarterbacks can. So he needs to be able to do that. But, just generally speaking, I think Eric McCoy being with the O-line changes a lot. He was the one offensive lineman that didn't play. So I'm not going to make any broad assessments on how they're going to play until I see that full offensive line with Eric McCoy, right? Like, you could say there's 4 or 5 guys out there, but the best one isn't. And I think he ties it all together, especially with line calls and making sure guys understand their assignments. We'll see. The Trevor Penning injury, we'll talk more about the health. I don't know. Like, I think people are overreacting to that one, but we'll have to see. I have seen people be like, he's a weakling. He can't deal with it. He played in all 17 games last year. He's like one of 6 guys on this team that started all 17 games last year. So why don't we just chill on that? But no, like, going into this game, and this is kind of where I'll leave it. Going into this game, I said that this was a more important game for Tyler Shough than it was for Spencer Rattler. Because you've already seen Spencer Rattler start games in the NFL. You know that if you had to, you could put him in there and feel like he could at least navigate a sketchy, unsteady situation. We've seen him do it. It might not go great, but I at least feel like you're not going to ruin his entire NFL career by throwing him out there and having him get trucked. And like, I'm okay with putting him in there. Tyler needed to go out there and show me that we should be having the conversation. Like, he had to go out there and prove that it's even worth talking about. Yeah, we have this guy who started NFL games, but I actually think the rookie has a chance to go out there and be good from day one. I'm still not convinced, but you had moments in that game where you're like, okay, you ran a really well executed 2-minute drill. You threw a pick 6, you learned from that, but you come back and it was a wide open throw. Still got to make the throw. You still got to trust your protection. You still got to step into it and deliver a ball to a guy you haven't thrown a ton to in Mason Tipton. So no, I think that what Tyler did with this game is force us to have to keep talking about this for at least one more week. Because I think if he came out and played a certain way, we could have come out of this game saying, yeah, Tyler's not going to be the week 1 guy.
Yeah, I'm glad you're basically feeling that way too. Because like I said at the beginning, it was like I was here on Shough going in, and it actually went up after the performance despite a loss and a pick 6. And that might sound weird.
No, I think it's the correct way to approach it. Like, it can't. If your analysis of every game is like based on like one play, well, he's either great or he sucks. Then why are we bothering? Right? Like, young guys make mistakes. How do they bounce back? Right? Like, Kellen Moore says this constantly, and it's kind of a coach speak thing, but it's true, right? Like, do you make a mistake and then unravel, or do you make a mistake and lock in? Right? Like, the number of times I've seen Tom Brady, for example, go out and have a really rough first half and then come back and play the best football of his life in the second half. Like the great quarterbacks, the great NFL players, that's how they operate. They're not perfect all the time, but when they need to lock in, they lock in. And so I think you kind of saw that gene a little bit from Tyler. And that's the thing. Like, when I question Spencer, it's because I don't always see that. You see, like, again, like, you could point to, hey, he didn't have the starting wide receivers. He didn't have the starting running back. You can only expect so much. But, I mean, one of the things
Chuck, right.
You go back, you're right, neither did Chuck. But you go back to last year, and there was so many games that looked so much like that.
Yeah.
Where you move the ball. At the end of the day, the stats don't look terrible, but where are the points? Where are the points? I don't have any points. Give me a point. Give me a field goal. Give me one. Anyway,
the whole muff punt situation sucked at the end there, because not coming away with anything that definitely hurts, and that's not all on Spencer there either.
Oh,
get another empty drive, empty calories, as you said.
The drive that he started in the red zone.
Yeah,
you said at the end, that confused me a little bit, but yeah, it was a second drive. Yeah, well, exactly. Like, I mean, that's an opportunity to go and put 6 on the board and come away feeling positive. And it's just there's no positive. Like, what do you look at in that game and say, like, this was a play that we can build on? There's just not a lot of it. Like, you had a nice game to Cedric Wilson. You had a nice catch and run by I can't remember which tight end it was. It might have been Michael Jacobson. He's had a few nice scrambles, right? He picked up yards with his legs. Like, there's a lot that you can look at and say, hey, this was a nice individual moment. But there's not an extended period where you can say, man, this was like a great 5 to 6 plays that you paid off with either 7 or 3. And that's at the end of the day, I think that's why when you look at Spencer and you say, I kind of see a backup ceiling for him. That's why, because I think he can go in and lead a drive in a pinch. Can he put together a complete game? Can he put together 2 halves of football, right? 2 quarters of football? I don't see it consistently enough.
Right,
so
still to be determined.
I'd really like to see him come out and prove me wrong in the next preseason game. Because if you go home next week and you have another kind of bagel, I think he's going to be playing with the 2s. I imagine you'll switch it up and have Shough come out first. Like, if you see a game that goes like this again, the noise is going to get real loud to start the rookie. That's all I'm going to say.
And as far as Jake Haener goes, not a great showing at all. And you should have, basically lived to fight another day instead of throwing that damn pick.
I can't remember who I was talking to on the sideline, but I was like, when he got in, I was like, there's like a 4 in 5 chance that he throws an interception on these drives, because he's like, so you can tell he's frustrated. Like, he's not getting the fair shake in this quarterback competition. We knew he wasn't going to, but the coaches said he would. And I think he's kind of realizing now that's not true. Like, he was just an afterthought in this game. And he's been and he's got a couple days of first team reps, but otherwise he's been an afterthought. And it's a bummer for him. Like, it's just his career, the way things have broken down for him. He just never has gotten a legitimate shot to, start. Even the game that gave him a start, it was like, oh, you struggled in the first half, you're done. Like, well, okay.
Can I go out the second half? No.
Yeah. So, like, I can understand why he would feel like he's getting kind of jobbed in this a little bit, because they were blowing smoke at him. Like, at the end of the day, they were blowing smoke. But all right, any other thoughts on the quarterbacks before we come back and talk about the duds?
Like you said, hopefully both QBs, we see some kind of advancement with just execution, awareness, whatever you want to talk about going into the Jacksonville matchup.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that there's no limitation with the knee.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I hope that we just, unfortunately, we do have to come back to this building again. Everyone gets hurt in this building. They never score any points in this building. the only things that happen are safeties, and they didn't even give us a safety. So
yeah, that was another bummer. Like I mentioned, the muff punt and not getting any points was kind of a downer, and that safety being taken back was also just two big blows to like any kind of momentum.
Yeah, you still look at it as a positive, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, just because it didn't count as a safety doesn't mean it was less of a good moment for Christian Boyd. But, it's easy. As a fan, you want to see the points go up on the board. But at the end of the day, they're going to look at that in film and be like, all right, gold star.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's hit the break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the negative stuff. I don't like to get too negative one game into the preseason. So it's going to be a shorter segment. But there are some things I want to talk about. So we'll hit it. Again, I'm Jeff Nowak, coming at you from California. We got 3 more practices out here. We're going to have a lot more content, maybe even a joint practice with the Rams. We'll find out. Steve Geller back in Louisiana. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. This is Inside Black and Gold. We'll be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller coming at you live a day after, about 24 hours removed from the Saints Chargers preseason opener. I know there's a lot of negativity about the offense in this game. We're going to talk about some of the duds, some of the things that didn't go right here. I don't know if you can really say they don't, like I had someone say, hey, they don't have the horses. I don't see it. And I was like, I haven't seen them yet. Like, how can we say that they don't have enough weapons when we haven't seen the weapons on the field? Now the depth is sketchy. And I do think that's a fair criticism, but that was always going to be a criticism of like, I don't know how deep this team goes, but like you have a couple injuries at the top, just like last year, and it could go very similarly to last year. And one of my downs is like, man, Landon Young was hurt. I think he would have been your first guy off the bench at right tackle if he was available. But I do not want to see Dylan Radins playing meaningful tackle reps.
Remember there was talk about when he signed, he might compete with Penning for the starting role. It's like,
Well, at guard.
Yeah.
But it's not, he was playing tackle yesterday.
I know. I don't want to see him at all.
Well, that's not fair. Like, he's a guard. I don't mind him at guard. I don't want to see him at tackle. And I don't know if they have a backup tackle, and that's the problem. When I look at the depth, that's my dud, is the O-line depth. Like, if Banks or Fuaga go down, you're in trouble at tackle. And you're not going to want to bump Trevor out to tackle. You're going to want to keep him at guard, assuming the foot injury isn't a major issue for him. Like, so I don't mind Radins as my guard, but definitely don't want to see him at tackle. Because I don't think he had. And here's the thing: when we're talking about offensive line, I was talking to Deuce about this on the way home. It's so tough sometimes because you look at a guy and he plays, I don't know what, 30 snaps in the game, like whatever, how many snaps he got. I have it in front of me actually, so let me tell you exactly how many snaps he had. Dylan Radins. Oh, I can't find it. Hold on. I promised I would tell you exactly how many snaps he played, so I'm going to do it. He played 55 snaps, so he was in the game. He had the second most snaps of anyone on the team, right? So he was in there constantly. Now, he had a couple penalties. He had that sack, but like he could have gone in there and played. So for 55 snaps, he could have gone in there and played 52 great snaps. But if you have 3 snaps that are bad enough, all 55 snaps are bad. You know what I mean? Like if the only thing he did wrong all day was allow that strip sack, we would still talk about him like he had a bad day, even if he was dominant for the other 54 reps. But it's impossible to gauge in real time how an offensive lineman is playing. But here's the thing. You can't have those reps. You can't get beat that clean that the ball gets turned over because, that does erase any good that you've gained. Like, you have to avoid that. And he wasn't able to do it. So again, I don't know. Like, I think the Saints, we've invested in the front end of the offensive line. and I think it's time to start investing in the back end of the offensive line. Like, I guess they did draft Nick Saldiveri in the 4th round. I think they need to start spending more like 2nd and 3rd round picks on developmental offensive linemen, because it seems to this point like when they look at the offensive line group, it's either 1st round pick starter or nobody.
Yeah, and the marketplace is so tough to just find that reliable veteran that can be a rotational piece, because they're pretty much they're probably starting somewhere, honestly. But I don't know. Depth on the O-line is always difficult, I think. And the Saints unit, the Saints starting unit, to me, didn't show enough, especially not really so much with providing QB's time, but definitely the run game was so lacking. When you see your only really big gains came from either Spencer or Shough running it.
Yeah, the run game was tough. I did feel like their best drive of the game was the first drive, which is whenever all the starters were in. They did move the ball. It bogged down around midfield, but they did get 2-3 first downs. Spencer found the receivers. It felt like he had time to operate. But it is what it is. Moving forward. Okay. So the obvious dud that we have to talk about, and it seems unfair at this point, because I think it is what it is Isaiah Foskey. And I know people are in the comments saying cut him, and I get it. I think they are going to cut him because, you're in that game. You know who got the most defensive snaps in the entire game?
I guess you're going to tell me Foskey.
Isaiah Foskey. He got 44 defensive snaps. The other guys, Fadil Diggs, Chris Rump, Quincy Riley, 36, 38, 41. Like, there's a lot of guys who got 30-plus snaps, but the only guy of them that did not appear in the stat sheet is Isaiah Foskey. Now, he was involved in the game. I watched him multiple times fail to set the edge and get run around because he got sucked in. Like, you're playing outside linebacker now. You're the outside guy. You can't get beat inside. Or, you can't get beat to the outside. Like, you can't get sucked in when you're the outside linebacker. And I know that's oversimplifying the term outside linebacker, but it's outside for a reason. And there was multiple plays that there was just runs to the edges of the field, and he was nowhere to be found. The touchdown in the second half, I just saw him like with his hands on his hips, like staring, like, had that like 5,000 yard stare of just like, man, this is just not going well. And I don't know, man, like that 2nd round draft label protects you to a point, but you watch Fadil Diggs, you watch Chris Rump, you watch these guys making plays. It's not like you could say like, they were in there against the 3rd string, and so was Isaiah. So I don't know. Like, you feel bad for him almost. Like it's not clicking. And
no, there's so much more around him that's just overtaking him and overshadowing him.
What is it? Yeah, maybe there's a chance that, Phil Galliano bangs the table and says like, he is that important to me on special teams that I need him. And they're going to be like, okay, fine. His contract's guaranteed anyway. So, we're not gaining anything financially from cutting him. And if he does have an impact on special teams, that's one thing. But that's the only thing that I think saves him on this roster, if it even does. Because like last year it was like, hey, he's not getting the snaps. Until he gets the snaps, he got the most defensive snaps in this game and made 0 impact. No pressures, no QB hits, no tackles. Didn't even get a half tackle. He didn't even jump on a pile and get credited with a half tackle. It's brutal.
Looks like we can't blame DA for this one.
Right. And it's like, it's like a lot of times I'll say stock up, stock down. Like, I don't think if we were calling this a stock down segment, I wouldn't even have a minute, because it's not like his stock has dropped.
Right.
It's just, it was low.
It's below a penny stock.
Calling a studs and duds segment. Yeah. Because I don't know, like dud is exactly the word. Like it was like, this was his opportunity. I felt like, like last year, I don't know if he got the reps and whatever. Like, this was his opportunity to show up, play a ton of reps, and do something. His name, I kid you not, if you go in the stat sheet on NFL GSIS, which is where we get all the official stats, his name's not even in it.
Yeah, so basically, you and I have the same statistics as Isaiah Foskey from last game.
Yes, I got the same number of tackles. I recorded the same number of statistics exactly as Isaiah. And And
it is rough considering what they invested, with the draft in him. But I mean, for me, it's not hard to cut bait just because there hasn't been even a moment where you're like, oh, something.
If this was still the same defensive scheme that was here when he was drafted, I think it would be maybe a different story. But no, and I mean, you feel bad because it's not like he's a bad dude, or I think he does work hard, and it's not like a locker room issue, or it's just the production issue. And I don't even want to hammer on him too hard. It's what it is. And yeah,
the Fighting Irish all-time leading sack getter.
Where's that guy? All right, a couple more. One thing that I thought was interesting in this game is the Saints had a chance to attempt a 58-yard field goal. They had no points on the board. It would have been nice to get points on the board with Rattler in the game. They bypassed it to attempt to punt from the 40. And, it was funny. I was listening to Deuce and Haas talk about it. I was like, well, that's strange. And I was kind of like, because I can't communicate directly to them. I have to communicate through Robert. And I was like, they want to see the punters. It's not about like that's as good of an indicator as you'll ever see that the Saints are not worried about the kicker competition. They've decided who their kicker is. They have not decided who their punter is. So there's more value for the team, even though you'd want to get 3 points on the board and you feel good about a 58-yard field goal. They see there's more value in saying, okay, James Burnip, go out there and kick from the 40 and see if you can do something nice. And you know what he did? Not that. That was a 25-yard net punt. So both guys had 3 punts, James Burnip and Kai Kroger. If he had asked me going in who was ahead, I would have said James Burnip. He asked me coming out, I'm telling you it's Kai Kroger, because James Burnip's 3 punts. The first one was from the Chargers, 49. He kicked it 38 yards to the 11. It was muffed. It was a good result. That was his best punt of the day. If you're getting it with, I'd like to see it inside the 10, but if you're in that range between the 12 and the 8, that's fine. Like I can live with that. That's plus 9 yards. If you have to compare it to the safest kick would be to kick it into the end zone, right? Because you could guarantee they're not getting further than the 20. So you have to judge everything from, okay, is this plus or minus from the kick that you could make 100 times out of 100? And so plus 9, which is, 20 to the 11, I can deal with, and especially when they muff it, that's a good result. But next kick is that kick from the 40. He takes it down to the Chargers 15. It's a 25-yard net punt. Next kick from the Saints 48, 38 yards to the Chargers 24. Like when you're kicking from your 48, that's prime territory to get it inside the 15, even the 10. Like you have a full pitching wedge. Like you don't have to club down at all. Like that's kind of your natural distance. And it just didn't deliver. And that was disappointing to me. And then you look at Kroger, he had a kick from the Saints 45, 39 yards to the 16. Like that's what you're trying to do from the 48, 45. Like that's the same kick. That was a successful kick. From the Saints 26, he went 52 yards to the Chargers 22. That was another one that was muffed. And then from the Saints 49, he kicked 48 yards to the Chargers 20. I'm sorry, from the Saints 29, he kicked 48 yards to the Chargers 23. It was brought back to the 30. So, that's a 41-yard net punt, which is still kind of in that acceptable range. So, neither guy pinned him deep, but I did at least feel like Kai has the potential to split the field, and we haven't seen that from James yet. So, I'm starting to wonder if this is going to be another rough punter season.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was so much hype from outside folks telling me about James Burnip coming in. And I guess because of that hype going into it, he definitely hasn't lived up to any of the expectations I had for him. This massive leg with hang time that I'll be in awe of. And I don't know. I haven't seen it from him.
Yeah. And I mean, like I have seen him do it in practice. Like he did look really good in a similar situation in practice. Like I watched him pin 4 straight kicks inside the 10. So he does have it in his leg. I do wonder if maybe there was some, first NFL game jitters, like that does happen. So you're not quitting on him. Hopefully he can come out and be better on Sunday against the Jaguars. But, definitely did not purport well in that. Okay, one more player that I'm a little down on. Like he's not getting cut, but I expected to see more is Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle. I've had people ask me, like, what are you seeing from Vernon? Not much. I think he's swimming a little bit right now. And it makes the defensive tackle position a little hard to gauge because you have to keep him. You're not cutting your third round pick as a rookie. He could be the worst player on the team. He's making the roster. But that means like, okay, someone's getting cut and it's going to be someone that's being more productive than the rookie defensive tackle. So, I'd like to see him deliver a little bit more throughout the course of this camp. Because right now he's like very much the third string, gets in at the end of the game type guy. And I expected more from a third round pick.
No, he's definitely been one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of guys that, you bring him up and it's, oh yeah, that's right. They drafted him this year.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Once again, you are going to need to see something though, huh, Jeff? And at least game action, because there really even hasn't been much in practices. You're hoping at least even in those late situations in the preseason, he could do something. That's another scenario would be very, very disheartening to want to even think about parting ways with your third round pick.
You're not, he's not getting like, he could be the worst player on the team. He's not getting cut unless he like, throws a brick through a window or something like he's, but he is in like the way he's playing now makes him probably one of the game day inactives, right? Like there's a lot of guys who you keep on the roster, but you're just not in the don't dress on game days, and there's 5 or 6 every week. And, in most weeks for the Saints in recent years, it's just like, oh, who's injured? Okay. They're inactive. That's kind of where he's trending right now is you might have, and it's going to make the depth a little more difficult because, you're going to maybe have to keep an extra defensive tackle if you don't intend to play him. So just a kind of a slow start. I don't want to be down on him. Like it's just, he's adjusting to the NFL. He's a rookie. And, we're seeing like Christian Boyd in year 2 make a little bit more of an impact. I hope that he can kind of come along as well.
I mean, I'm thinking about it. I really don't know where you put Broughton on in the group just because of some of the other names in there. There's like a Nate Shepard. Is he in trouble? But I feel like he's had a better camp than I thought he was doing.
I don't like calling people Jags because I feel like there's a negative connotation.
The Jaguars?
But he's just a guy. Just another, like he's just another guy. Like he's out there. Like again, I feel that way about a few guys, and I think he's one of them. Of like, yeah, he could make a team, he could make the roster, but will he? Probably not. The weird thing about Nate and Colin is like, yeah, I didn't feel like you had to touch their contracts. But they did. They restructured both of them. So you're paying them either way. Like you don't even get to save that $1 or $2 million by moving on from them. And that's just that decision at the time felt weird. And it feels even weirder now because I just like the way things are trending, both those guys could miss the roster. And your question for Colin is, would you rather have Christian Boyd or Colin Saunders? And I think the upside of the Christian Boyd is probably more valuable to you at this stage in a rebuild. So we'll see. One other thing I want to mention as a dud is, man, we were talking about, the health is great. Well, it doesn't feel great right now. And thankfully, you avoided injuries for anyone that's, the only major injury you're concerned about right now from a starter is Trevor Penning. And I don't know, like, I think people are overreacting to that a little bit because he got carted back to the locker room. He came out of the tent with both shoes off. So if it was like a major injury to one foot, like turf toe, for example, you don't need to take both shoes off to figure out what foot it is. You know what foot it is. Taking both shoes off means I think they were, I don't want to speculate, but like, I think you take both shoes off because you're doing something to the lower legs, like maybe cramping. Hopefully it was cramping, stuff like that. Like he walked to the cart and got on it. Like it wasn't like he was getting helped or, so I don't know. Like I'm going to hold my breath on that one until we see him out there. But my immediate kind of indication, my immediate read on it was that he took the cart back to the locker room because they didn't want him to walk there barefoot. No, seriously, like you're not going to have the guy walk around the field and back to the locker room barefoot. So like he's taking a cart whether it's serious or not. And I think a lot of times we see, oh, he's carted back, and it must be.
How about I feel like as a player, you don't want to get on that cart.
You don't because of the way it looks, but at the same time, like if you're dealing with it, if you're giving it, you're cramping, they're going to be like, you're taking a cart, man. We drove it out here. You're getting on it. So
I hope you're right, and it's nothing major with him because he's had foot issues in the past.
He has, and that's why I think people are kind of overreacting a little bit.
Yeah,
because but like at the same time, like people are like, oh, he's so injury prone. Like he played all 17 games last year. He didn't miss any games the year before that. He got benched. Like, so it's been 2 years since he's had a major injury, but people still talk about him like he's this like every year he's an injury magnet. So we'll see. But a couple of the guys, Will Clapp, backup center, goes down in the second play of the game. That's why Torricelli Simpkins played 68 snaps yesterday at a position he's not really that familiar with. We also had Bub Means, who he's never going to want to go back to this building again, because that's the same building he had a season-ending injury in last year. And I don't know, like I didn't see it happen live, but the way it was described and I heard it kind of talked about, it seemed like a decent injury. So we'll have to watch that one.
That sucks for Bub, man.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's not anything significant, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field in his 2 years. And then obviously, Mason Pline, who's the tight end, who people probably didn't even realize was on the roster. He got hurt, got carried off the field. Looked significant.
First when that injury happened, it was like, who is that?
Yeah, he's wearing 85. He's wearing the Dallin Holker number. But that's why I said there was a lot of injuries, and you're kind of like, oh man, the injuries. Most of them were to depth players. The Shough injury is the one I'm the most concerned about, like I said. But like, you'll be fine with another backup center if Will's injury is extended. You'll be fine with another depth tight end. You could find another guard if you need to with Trevor. You hope he's out there, but at the end of the day, he's still a guy that it's not like, oh, what do we do if he's not there? Like you brought in Dylan Radins for that exact reason. Maybe the new training staff has like found this like secret code to avoid injuries. Didn't feel like that in that game.
Definitely unfortunate. And man, I hope we're not moving on from a guy like Penning already, just because there was a lot more promise for him, and he kind of feel like the dude's at the end of the line right now and fighting for his NFL career.
Well, they're not moving on from him. It's just more of if they had to be without him for any period of time. If I had to rank all 5 offensive linemen and say which one could they afford to be without?
Yeah, I hear you.
And you don't want to be without any of them, right? Like I would be a lot like if it was Caesar, if it was Eric, if it was Banks, if it was Fuaga, that would be a lot harder to replace. Because like I said, I don't think they have a backup tackle right now. They don't have a backup center either, really. So yeah, but that's the last one. That's the last negative thing I want to talk about. Do you have any before we move to the positive stuff?
No, not. I think we touched on pretty much all the negatives. The run game O-line combo is definitely a big one.
Yeah, the run game just was not. You didn't have any answers in the run game, and it is what it is. I thought the usage of Kendre Miller was pretty indicative that he's safe on this roster. Like, yeah, that's one thing that happens in preseason games where you want guys to get reps, but you almost feel way better about a guy's status on the roster if they get reps and then get taken out. Like, and it's the opposite for a guy like Isaiah Foskey, who played the whole game, and you actually feel worse about it. Whereas like Kendre only played like 8-9 snaps, but that's the treatment you expect for a guy who's gonna make the roster and is gonna have a significant role. Cam Akers, I thought, didn't.
Yeah, if you take the QB scramble numbers away from the running back, the rushing numbers, it's not pretty.
Yeah, and you threw basically the whole second half too. Like you were not running the ball in the second half. But all right, I'm Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. This is Inside Black and Gold. We got through the duds. Now let's move on to the studs.
Let's go.
If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Otherwise, stick around. We will be right back. And we are back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. This is like the time of day for this lighting has been perfect. This is like the golden hour of podcasting. I mean, geez, I wish I could get this set up in my room at home. You got the green, you got the trees. It's beautiful. But I'm Jeff Nowak. He's Steve Geller. I'm out in Irvine, California. Be here for the rest of the week. Steve is back in Louisiana dealing with the humidity. I am not. I am gladly out of the humidity for the day. Although my wife does have COVID, so
oh no,
she decided to pick the week that I was out of town to get COVID. Hopefully she's handling it. I'll call her when I get off here. But she sent me a picture this morning of just the, it almost felt like I thought it was a pregnancy test at first because she just sent it without context and I just saw a line and I was like, oh, that's a COVID test. Oh man. Oh.
You're in Cali. I'm pregnant. Very
different responses when you see those types of things. But yeah, so I'm still out here. I'm gonna have to send her some soup. But we're here to talk about the positives. We went through all the duds, all the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. And the two guys we talked about Foskey, and one of the reasons that his performance was so glaringly absent was that the other two guys who got a ton of snaps, Chris Rumph and Fadil Diggs, I thought they looked great. And these are guys that, Fadil Diggs had a bit of a slow start. I think he's been coming on lately. He had one stretch where he had back-to-back plays where he chased the play down to the edge of the field on a run, like a wide run, and then he had a sack on the next play. And it's like, if Foskey did that one time, I'd be like, thank you, finally. And so you see a rookie 7th round pick doing that, and you're like, okay, like it is possible. It can happen. Chris Rumph is a guy that, has been really interesting to watch, right? Fadil Diggs ended up with 4 tackles and a sack. Chris Rumph had 3 tackles and a sack, 4-yard loss. That was on a 3rd down that forced a field goal attempt. It's kind of fascinating to watch this defensive line, like Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, Chase Young were not out there. Devon Gottschalk was also not out there. So we didn't get a really good look of what it's all going to look like when the stars are there. But I like seeing young guys who are built more in that outside linebacker role stepping up early in camp.
Yeah, like you mentioned with Diggs and Rumph, we wish we could be taking any kind of notes like that with Isaiah Foskey. So good for them. 2 sacks and Trey Lance, not an easy guy to, I feel, get to.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, the Chargers scored some points, but they had a terrible day throwing the ball. I mean, what did Taylor Heineke complete? 1 pass? Let's see. Taylor Heineke was 1 for 5 for 8 yards. Trey Lance was 7 for 14 for 55 yards. DJ Uwangalule. Me and Haas were going back and forth. You have to learn how to say it without looking at the letters, because when you read it, it's like you will never get to the pronunciation that is correct. But
it's just it's just vowels.
Yeah, 1 for 1 for 49 yards. Like, it was that one deep ball. And I mean, like, he had basically half of their passing production on that one play. So, I felt good about how they handled the pass game. Not so much how they handled the QB run game. We'll get to that. That's not something I'm going to make a big deal about today, but hopefully this was a one-off, and it's a different scheme, so we can't even say like, they still can't stop the difference. Completely different.
I know, but the guy week 1 in Arizona, he can scramble.
Yeah, you're not game planning for players, and I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, if Trey Lance is gonna not throw the ball and just run around and do his thing, like, yeah, he's probably gonna get you. If you game plan for Trey Lance running, you probably have a different story. So I'm not going to overreact until I actually see a defense go in with a plan for a guy. But one thing that the Saints did do was limit the passing game. And so Ike Yadam, I thought, for the short amount of time he was in there, they challenged him once. He had a nice pass breakup. It was 3rd down, forced a punt. That's the Ike Yadam that I remember, is like, they're going to go after him. They went after him when he was here before. They're going to go after him again. And what I appreciate about Ike is, He's just like, all right, bet. Like, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. You know, I might get a foul or two while it's going on, but like, I'm not going to just let you walk all over me. Like, I'm going to fight tooth and nail. And, you know, that's a good thing to see. Like, because I was wondering when he came back if he was going to have that same like juice. And I think he does.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just something he plays with. Thankfully, what was it? A sack and a tackle for loss for him, or pass defense and a
He had a pass
tackle
defense.
for
I
loss.
think he also had a tackle, but he was only in for. I mean, like, yeah, we talk about like Foskey was in for 97,000 snaps. Ike Adam was only in for 15. So,
15.
Yeah, like Kool-Aid McKinstry had 9. Tyreen Powell, interestingly enough, had 4. Nathan Shepard had 7. Brzee had 9, which was good to see Brzee out there. He was dealing with an illness late in the week. You know, like guys like Justin Reed didn't play. So, no, I thought it was, you know, I think that duo of McKinstry and Yadam is going to be important. And I think we feel good about Kool-Aid and what he's going to be able to do. But if teams can just say, hey, we're not going to throw at Kool-Aid, we're going to throw at the other guy and just succeed constantly, then I don't care how good Kool-Aid is playing because they're not going to have to deal with him. So that's why Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore was such an effective tandem when they were out there because, you know, it's like you can throw at Paulson, but he's the guy who gets all the interceptions. So.
Yeah, someone had texted in on the post-game show, Eli Apple just got released if we need secondary help. And I was like, hard pass.
God.
Right.
Please no. Please no. All right, so next guy on the list. Torricelli Simpkins the third.
Torricelli.
Good old Torricelli. I asked him what he how he prefers to be referred to because I was like, do you want Torricelli? Do you want Selly? And he said that a couple of his teammates just call him Simp, which I found funny. But no, it's cool when you see a guy who did not expect to have a big role show up and just deliver, right? And this is what Kellen had to say when I asked him about Torricelli's day.
Center, but how did you think he did?
Awesome for him to hop in there that quickly and just essentially play the whole game at center. I mean, your first game in the NFL, preseason football, and then you get thrown in there just like that. His response was phenomenal. I thought he did an incredible job.
Oh, and there was a shot.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, it's even as the third string center, I don't think you make the roster. If Will Clapp is hurt and suddenly you're the backup center, then that's another story. But like when you show up, I say this all the time, like people like to grade like success at the NFL level by whether you make the roster or not. As a UDFA, like this guy's showing up from South Carolina, like no one knows his name other than the fact that it's a kind of a unique name. And there's 3 of them because he's the third, Torricelli Simpkins. You know, all you can do is try to get attention. And a practice squad spot is a win. When you show up as a UDFA and you kind of guarantee yourself a practice squad spot, that means that you caught the coach's attention. And there's no better way to do that than how he did it yesterday. Was he perfect? By no means. But, you know, Kyle Hergel came into camp as kind of the third string center. I think he's been supplanted. So, I mean, when you talk about stock up, like who helped their case? Like, I don't think anyone helped their case yesterday more than he did.
Massive dude too, right? Like 6'5", 3 something.
Yeah, but he's like it's so funny. Like you see these guys from afar and they're like so scary and intimidating. And then you walk up and talk to him. He's just kind of like baby faced dude. Like he's so nice.
He's a big old teddy bear.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's not like that on the field because he moves. He's athletic. Like I think he was one of the guys I mentioned right away when I saw him out that rookie minicamp. I was like, oh, I think he's got the body type to succeed at the NFL level. It's just a question of where he plays and how he operates. Kid out of South Carolina. So good for him. You know, a couple others, like these are on my honorable mentions, but the linebacker group, I've said this already several times, is in really good shape. Like I am really happy about this entire linebacker room to the point that I think you might try to keep 6 of them because they're just so effective. And like DeMarco Jackson and who got this start yesterday? I wrote it down.
It wasn't Nephi, huh?
I don't think it was Nephi. Stutzman. It was Stutzman. It was DeMarco Jackson and Stutzman who got out there to start. And I thought they played well. Like DeMarco, I think he's had a really good camp. He's kind of everywhere. He's the guy that's like in year 4. So you feel like he's kind of figuring it out. He's the veteran in that room. But man, the player that I think has really kind of come on this year that I did not expect, Isaiah Stallbird, 44. He's a converted safety. So, I think a lot of times when he's out there, the offense kind of loses track of the fact that he's a linebacker with safety athleticism. And there was a play yesterday that he just came off the line so fast and just blew up a play in the backfield.
Well,
and it was like, where'd he come from? Like, he's playing like a heat-seeking missile in that game. He had multiple special teams tackles. In practice the other day, he tipped up one of Jake Hayner's passes for a Jonas Sanker interception. And it was a very similar situation. Like, I think he saw a linebacker sticking up the seam, and he was like, I have this much space to work with. And then it was gone because he's just got that kind of next level athleticism at the position. And so in a smaller league, like we have, like, smaller linebackers can survive in ways now that they couldn't 15 years ago. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's going to be a starter, but he's going to be a core special teamer. And I think you can use him in this defense in a lot of intriguing ways as kind of a big nickel. And so he's a guy that I was really impressed with.
Yeah, that's definitely someone I expect Galliano to be like, no, no matter what, we need this guy around. Like you mentioned, that heat-seeking missile capabilities, did it on offense, for the defense and for the special teams unit. I ended up giving him the diamond in the rough player of the game after the preseason game number 1.
Yeah, no, every time I looked up, it was like, who made that hit? Like, 44, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had multiple, was it special teams tackles? And yeah, like, making yourself indispensable. The funniest thing that happened last year was Darren Rizzi in week 5 against the Chiefs. I think Isaiah made a mistake on a return. I think he got called for a penalty. And like, Darren Rizzi was like lighting him up on the sideline. And like, Darren Rizzi is an Isaiah Stallbird guy. Like, that guy's here because Darren, pounds the table for him, right? And he was lighting him up so much so that Isaiah Foskey came in, and it was like, oh, you want it too? And it was like, then he's screaming at both Isaiahs. And I was like, it felt like biblical. Like, what is happening? And like, until Cam Jordan came in and like was like, guys, let's not like come to blows on the sideline. I just thought that was my Isaiah Stallbird year 1 kind of impact story. So nice to see him making plays on the field in more positive ways. But they found, like, they liked him last year. They called him up multiple times until the point that they had to sign him because they used all of his practice squad elevation. So it's not like this is a one-off. Like, he was a core special teamer last year. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to make the roster. I think he will. I think you're going to get squeezed for roster spots at a certain point. Like, Jalen Ford led the team in tackles yesterday. He had 8 tackles. He's really come on strong. Demario Davis, Pete Werner, like, they're your starters. Danny Stutzman has looked really good. And then DeMarco Jackson, like, I think the guy who gets squeezed out is Nephi. But like, that's such I like the Saints have been really good over the last several years at identifying inside linebacker talent. And like, Michael Hodges might be gone, but I think that pipeline is still strong.
No, happy to hear some stuff about Jalen Ford too. I joked with Deuce about this in the post-game show too. As the Cali Air doing something for him, because I know there's certain practices he was showing up before even the preseason game finally.
Well, I think one of the things that's happening right now is there's like I said, there's like 6 guys that I feel really good about in that room, and you can't have all of them on the field. Like, some days you're going to have Stutzman out there getting more reps, making more plays. When like Werner and DeMario are out there, like, okay, they're the starters, right? So
right,
it's tough, but like, there's not a lot of positions on this team that I feel like you can go legitimately 6 deep and feel good about them. That's the position that I would say is in the best shape of any on this team. And like, there's a track record of success at developing these guys, right? Like Caden Ellis, Zach Bond, even if they didn't have a ton of success here, like, they still identified them and developed them. So
I feel like in that reserve role, we saw at least a little from Caden Ellis, more than definitely Zach Bond. All of a sudden, him having that huge breakout year for Philly seemed ridiculous.
Yeah, Zach and Caden leaving were 2 different situations, because Zach left for like a 1-year, $5 million deal, and he left because he wanted playing time. Caden left because the Falcons paid him way more than the Saints could justify paying a backup linebacker.
Right.
So anyway, a few more, and then we'll close this out. Again, reminder, we're going to hit a mailbag at the end here. for some extra content, talk with the listeners, all that good stuff. I know you want your takes to be heard. I'm sure we have some Cut Foskey comments in there. But just a few more like kind of one-offs that made a play that I wanted to mention. Not necessarily like, huge stud for the game, but like Mason Tipton, I thought really nice stutter go route.
Hey,
like,
he's been a notebook guy, so it's good to see a game guy.
Exactly. Last year, he was all in the notebooks, right? Like he played so well in practice that he made the team without playing in a preseason game. So it's nice to see him deliver in a game. It is like, and maybe that gets the kind of monkey off his back in that respect, because I just felt like he was pressing over. Like he had a lot of opportunities last year throughout the season. I felt like he was pressing a little bit too much. So good to see him just have something to look at and be like, all right, I can do this. Christian Boyd, like mentioned, the safety. I don't think it was a safety. Like it looks like one because he kind of drags him into the end zone, but that the end zone operates in reverse when it comes to a safety as it does for when you're scoring a touchdown, right? So when you're trying to score a touchdown, you don't have to get the full ball over the goal line. You just have to break the plane and it's a touchdown. The same is true for a safety. If a quarter inch of the ball is past the goal line coming out, it's not a safety. Like that's how it works. So I think it was the right call to overturn it. It's still annoying because you want to see him get that play. Great play by him. They had to punt anyway. You got the ball back in good field position. So not the end of the world, but a good moment by him.
Yeah, it was definitely a downer when they're going to replay and it ends up getting reversed, and you're like, wait a minute. You do have to, appreciate at least the way that Boyd was able to get there with that pressure. I don't know. It was questionable to me. It was hard to say it wasn't a safety. That might be fandom though kicking in.
Yeah, it was close. If you're a Chargers fan, it's not a safety. If you're a Saints fan, it's a safety. So the refs have to kind of stand in the middle and be like, well, the rules say it's not a safety, so it's not a safety.
I felt like it was really just tough to overturn it.
Yeah, right. Like they shouldn't have called it a safety on the field.
It wasn't so conclusive.
You should have been able to see on the field where he was. Because he started outside the end zone. So when you contact him outside the end zone, he's out anyway. It's another thing. But good play by Christian. Whether it's a safety or not, it's still a great play by him.
Yeah.
One more, and I'm just bringing it up because it's a guy who has been downtrodden to the nth degree. He's had probably the roughest camp of anybody on this team, and it's Charlie Smith. And
Charlie.
He's only had 2 kicks in live action. He's made them both. The first one was the game winner against the Cardinals in the preseason opener last year. This one was also at the end of the game. It wasn't a game winner, but it was a 50-yarder.
Sure.
And he knocked that through like it was an extra point. And it reminds you like, oh, that's right. Like, and so hopefully that builds confidence. Like, I think the kicker competition is over, but hopefully that helps him build confidence so that you can still stash him on the practice squad and feel like maybe we do this again next year. And because I definitely
believe in the stash, and I'm just worried, we don't want too many other teams hearing about him.
At this point, I don't really care if other teams hear about him because he's down. He's had such a rough camp that like no team is going to be like, yeah, we want the guy who's like 40% from inside of 50 to be our starting kicker. I mean, either way, I don't think the Saints would really lose any sleep over it if they lost him, but I'd like to think that he can build on that kick, which again, like that was a 50-yarder. That was a kick that 10, 15 years ago we've been like, wow, that's a long kick. Now it's like, oh, he almost cleared the goalposts. Like it crossed the goalposts above them.
It may be terribly stereotypical, but I would love to just sit down in a bar and have a pint with Charlie Smith.
He'd probably be very critical of like how they poured the Guinness. Like I wouldn't want to mess up the Guinness pour in front of him. Like they need the spoon.
I just like hearing him talk.
Yeah, no, Charlie's a good guy. I like Charlie a lot. That's why it's a bummer to watch him struggle like he has, because like he's a great kid. Like he taught, like he was like a math teacher in Ireland. Like he's not a football player. He's just a dude. And like here's the thing, like he's gonna be a legend back there, whether he's an NFL kicker or not. There's gonna be like aspiring Irish kickers who like find him in some like back, whatever. Like it's have to travel on these like back roads and be like, that's Charlie Smith, the wizard of kicking. The Gaelic football legend. I was in his 8th grade math class. Anyway, So,
inspiring Irish kickers of the next generation.
yeah. Because like Blake, speaking of Irish kickers, little Irish guys, he's a Notre Dame guy. Blake Groupie, also an Irish guy, but he's the dude, man. He's the kicker. So I'm just saying, good for him. Like there are guys who go through their entire NFL career without getting an opportunity to make a 50-yard kick. So that's all. That's all I got. Anything else from you before we close out this episode?
Trying to think of some of the other, positives that we didn't touch on. You mentioned even DeMarco Jackson. I thought it was a pretty good showing from him. Yeah, I think we've done a good job, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Elliot Davison had a couple nice plays.
Yeah, at first I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah, 35, baby. 35. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we got them all. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. How you feeling? You feeling good?
Yeah, I was kind of yeah, but for game time, it got a little there was a lull in the action, you could say, where I was like, all right, come on. I just want to get into the post-game show now. But looking at some of more of the stuff today, I had more positive views on some of what guys did, at least. And like we say, we're not so necessarily caught up in results, but definitely what kind of development you're seeing from guys from practice to the field.
There's a lot more. There's always like emotion coming out of a game that's just like, man, they didn't score any points. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. But then like once you kind of go through things granularly and say, okay, how did they operate here? How did they operate here? It feels a lot better. Like, again, I felt like Tyler looked great for what I needed him to look like. Did he look like a star? No.
It's more of a battle than I would have imagined, because I thought, all right, Spence is definitely the guy number one, week one. I still think he is, but I don't think it's that far anymore.
You have to look at Tyler like he's going up a staircase, right? He starts at the bottom of it. Now, I want him to take steps forward. I don't need him to jump 3 steps at a time, but I do want him to take one step as it's reasonable to take one step, right? And I think throughout the course of camp, he started at the bottom. It took him a little while to get those first steps, but then over the course of the last week or so, I think you've seen him take, step here, step here, step here. Now, this is the part where it's like, you don't want to take steps back, right? Yeah. You want to stack days. You want to step forward. And as long as he keeps doing that, I feel great about it. And I think this preseason game, while there was some rough moments, it's still a step forward. It's a step in the right direction. And now at a certain point, you're at a step where you're going to play in an NFL game. I don't know exactly how many there are ahead of him before he gets to that point, but he's a lot closer now than he was 2 weeks ago. So that's how I'm choosing to look at it. Yeah. And that's true for Rattler as well. I just think like Rattler's been standing on the same step for a while.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think that's the visual I'm going to go with.
There hasn't been that next level. You're not seeing that step up so much with Rattler. I agree.
But it is some number of steps beyond where Tyler is, right?
Right.
But I feel like he's kind of stuck on that step.
But Tyler, those steps are getting a little bit closer with Tyler.
Yeah, the steps get taller as you go up, right? Like at a certain point, you got to do a pull-up to get up to the next. We're going a little too far with this analogy.
Right. They're like, all right, enough with the step analogies. Exactly.
Enough with it. Enough of this nonsense. All right. But all right, let's wrap up this episode of Inside Black and Gold. If you're watching on YouTube, you will get a mailbag coming right back after this, so don't go away. There's a lot of comments in there, so it's going to take a few moments for me to go in and star the ones we're going to get to. But stick around. If you're this will be on the podcast feed. This is the episode that we're getting, and then the mailbag will post separately. It's just a way to get a second episode out into the universe. But thanks everyone for following along. It's just the first of many post game podcasts. The last of many of me being in front of this nice bay window here, but we'll figure it out. I'm looking forward to getting back home. Either way, Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller, who dat? Go Saints. Easy, y'all.
Shuck and jive.
All right. Got the comments set up. You ready, Steve?
I'm ready to rock.
We'll probably try to do 20 minutes, 2 segments here, 20 minutes, get out of here. And we'll see. Our best laid plans are usually poorly laid because we never get out on time, but we got stuff to talk about. So.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So give us a kind of a fresh intro here, Stephen.
Back in for another edition of Inside Black and Gold, getting ready for more preseason action. Steve Geller along with Jeff Nowak. Jeff still kicking it in Cali. I definitely am jealous of the weather you facing out there, and did get to see the other night you were at a Dodgers game.
I did get to go to a Dodgers game. That was fun. I spent.
What was the crowd like out there?
Spent $30 on a Dodgerita. You know, I as much as I complain about the Superdome drink prices, like we're talking $22 for a drink at Dodger Stadium. So definitely not outside the realm of realistic when you're talking about the Superdome. But man,
how many Dodgeritas do you need? Is it at least decent alcohol in there or no?
Oh, I was not feeling great that Sunday. But hey, you know, it is what it is, right? When in Rome, you know, I got a Dodger dog.
Sure.
I got a Dodger dog. I got to watch Shohei hit a home run. They won like 9-1 or something like that. So yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad we got out there. I was debating whether to go to the Dodgers game or to a Padres game because I'm a Red Sox fan and the Red Sox were playing the Padres. It went to extra innings and the Red Sox lost. So like I'm glad I made the decision I did because it's like a 2-hour drive to San Diego from here, and that would have been brutal on the way back. So yeah, but no, it's cool. Like LA, you know, we don't get a lot of time to actually take in LA because we're out of practice every day, and you know, I'm ordering a lot of room service, working until whatever. But no, it's cool. It's you can see by the light. It's just nice out here, you know.
Nice, and the greenery. The not so humid air too is always nice when it's not as thick.
Oh yeah,
but you mentioned game day though was a little humid.
It was in that building specifically. Like it actually wasn't humid during the day. It was just in that building sucks, man. Anyway, so we're getting into the mailbag. It's not just about my California exploits, but let's do the first question of the day was a good one, and I think it's a good time to revisit it after the first preseason game. And Tata Abacuento says, this looks like another losing season. It's not a question, but I guess the question I have is after watching the first preseason game, are you more positive or less positive that the Saints are going to win any games this year?
I have not been swayed by the preseason, but I never thought they were going to be an above 500 team going into the year. So I'm still at that point. I'm not down in the ranks of a 2-3 win team. I'm more in the 6-7 range.
Yeah, I think if that game made like the way I see the season going is like you're going to have nice moments, you're going to have flashes, you're going to have solid games, but you're going to lose a lot of games to better teams. In that, like, you know, like a game like the Bills in week 4, if you go out there and you're competitive at all, that's a win. You just don't want to have like the Christmas Eve versus the Packers type situation, like get shut out. But like, there's going to be a lot of games that I think the Saints are in, but they just can't finish off, right? Because I just think there's going to be points where it's like you're asking a young guy to do more than they are ready to do. So like, you know, it's funny because like a losing season isn't the end of the world. If you're competitive and you have a losing season, I'm fine with it. I just can't stand when you are losing games and you don't even look like you have a pulse. And that was what was going on last year when Spencer was starting for a majority of those games. Not every game. The Raiders game, I felt like he played pretty well in, and it was the defense that let him down and guys dropping passes. The Bucks game, you had a really good first half. He kind of fell off a cliff there in week 18. The Washington game, he let him back. They had a chance to win. But they're like the Chargers game last year, the first Bucks game last year, the Broncos game, like too many games last year were losses and also just over at halftime. Like you were just like, man, this is a train wreck. And so I do feel like I think I saw some things in that game, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, that make me feel like you're going to be in games. I'm just not sure you're going to pull them out.
Yeah, I mean the defense we saw last season just get gashed with the run game, and at least it wasn't so bad in the preseason opener against the Chargers. But man, oh man, you can't be in the bottom half of the league, especially with whichever young quarterback is at under center, learning a new whole system over there on the offense. It just seems like there's going to be a lot of under games for the Saints this season. And
Yeah.
we've talked about it a little bit too. It's like, if you want to invest fantasy wise, go for Blake Groupie. I think he'll be getting a lot of points, a lot of chances to make 3 points.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if you win games, they're going to have to be low scoring games. And, and I just think there's going to be a lot of games that kind of get away from you at the end. Chosen Fitted says, when is the last time a player from Notre Dame made a Pro Bowl? And I can think of one off the top of my head, but I think this is going to be a Blake Groupie Pro Bowl year. I think it's possible. If I had to pick who's got the best chance to make a Pro Bowl this year, I think it might be Groupie if he kicks anything remotely like he's been kicking in camp. But I do have an answer if you want, unless you want to try to guess.
My first person that Notre Dame that was worth a Pro Bowl to me, the last ones in my head is Golden Tate.
Oh, there's been ones. Yeah, it's guy in 2023. There was a Pro Bowler from out of Notre Dame. I don't know about 2024. I just know for a fact in 2023 you did have one.
Who in 23?
Kyron Williams.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure there's like Will Fuller probably made one at some point. Maybe, I don't know. I probably made that up. I always get I always mix up the Penn State and Notre Dame guys. Like Chris Godwin in my head, it was like, he's a Notre Dame guy, but he's not. Anyway, so yeah. And Jerry G says Isaiah Foskey is a major disappointment. I can tell you with certainty that Isaiah Foskey is not going to be the next Notre Dame player in the Pro Bowl.
Unless he goes to another team, and then in fact he'll get a ring and be considered like defensive player of the year.
Yes, when he ends up on the Eagles, he will go to Pro Bowl. Chosen Fitted also says, where can I buy a Geller and Norwalk jersey? Spelled my name wrong, man. Much rather wear that proudly in black and gold than Foskey. Y'all have been so mean to Foskey. Poor guy. Anthony Bailey says, we forget the Chargers have one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah, but you didn't necessarily see that out there yesterday. Like, did you see Khalil Mack out there? Because I didn't. No, I mean, and the Saints didn't play their defense either. So it's like, it's even, right? That's why you have to look at it granularly, and you have to say, how did this player play in the situation they were in against the players they were playing against? It's not about, is this team good? Is this team bad? It's about who's playing well and who's not.
That's definitely not easy to do, because your instant, your just reaction is, what happened overall. And yeah, I agree. Like, my second look on the game was so much different.
Yeah, you're watching a football game and you want it to be a good football game. The problem is you don't get that in the preseason. You get ugly, garbage, simple football. You don't get game plans. You don't get trick plays. You don't get it is what it is. So yeah, anyway, Gundam says, Trevor Penning has a foot injury. I don't know. Like, we don't know what Trevor Penning's issue is. Kellen Moore would not expand upon it. It's always these days, like the day after a game where a guy leaves with an injury, you kind of sit there on pins and needles waiting for the Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter tweet where it's like, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Like, you remember Trevor Penning's rookie season. He got to the final game of the preseason, and it was against the Chargers, and he got the turf toe and missed most of that season. So the Chargers are kind of a bugaboo for him in that front. But we don't know. Like, I don't think it was anything major, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Jasher Judas is the kid from Syracuse University. Defensive end looked really good. That's Fadil Diggs. He started at Texas A&M. Like, I think people kind of overlook him because, he's a guy from Syracuse. Is this, not exactly a factory, but, he spent multiple years at Texas A&M, which, is a factory. So
definitely in the I want to see more of next game.
Yeah. Jerry G says, guess y'all decided to go on early to make sure the Houdat Nation is all right. We did go a little bit early. We were initially playing for 12, and they were like, we're already here. Might as well just get it going. And I appreciate everyone hanging out in the middle of the day on a Monday. Always appreciate that. 992 RAS is the center after Clapp went out and looked really good, especially when he hit 2 different linemen. Yeah, I mean, like I have to go look and see for sure. I can't tell you whether he played great or not. Like, it's impossible for me to know without the all-22, and I haven't got a chance to see that yet, how he did perform. But, you weren't seeing him getting run over. Like, the offense wasn't bogging down because the pressure from the interior was so intense that you just couldn't deal with it. So in that sense, like, yeah, I think he had a really solid game. And there's a reason that he's surpassed Kyle Hergel, right? Shane Lemieux's around. Shane Lemieux started games at center. They're not looking at him. They're looking at Torricelli Simpkins. So they clearly like him.
Yeah, that was when all of a sudden he came into the game over someone like Lemieux. I was like, oh, what's up with that? So that was a little bit of a surprise.
Right. It tells you a lot about where they think of him as that player. Jay Tours says, where's Mike Thomas? That's a good question. Where is Mike Thomas? Probably in Malibu, I would guess. He has a house there.
He said, Velas, you can take my number. I'm out.
Yeah, everyone last year got mad that they gave Equinemius St. Brown the number 13, but no one complained about Velas Jones. You know what? The end of the last episode, we were trying to think of like, okay, there's got to be somebody else that we didn't mention. I thought Velas Jones, speaking of number 13,
in the return game, yeah.
Just in, it's funny because he's a running back, but like most of the impact he had was not as a running back. It was getting the ball at the edge of the field. But, I think that's a good skill set, and if you can take advantage of that and treat him kind of like a Darren Sproles, like, he's confident that he's the fastest guy on the team. I don't know if that's true or not, but he was definitely the fastest guy on the field yesterday, right. At least in uniform. Because, like, man, you get him in space and it's like he blows by people. And I wouldn't accuse the Saints of being the fastest team in the league. So I don't mind adding, like, if I kind of feel like he's a practice squad guy. He's a priority practice squad guy, and you call him up, throughout the season, and maybe he ends up exhausting all those elevations, and you sign him as the season goes on. Because I think he has a skill set that you could take advantage of.
Yeah, and he's got to make the team because at one point or another, I'm still dying for the Shaheed Velas Jones runoff.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to win that, but we'll see. 992 RAS says Tipton made that happen with his route running. Any QB should have been able to hit that. I mean, they're not wrong, but
he still made it.
Hit it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, a pro QB should be able to throw a 40-yard ball to a wide open receiver.
So that we can check. Yes.
Yeah. But like, you still got to see him do it. I mean, have you seen Spencer throw that ball? I don't think I have. And it's not saying you can't. I'm just saying, like, yeah, okay, well, why haven't we seen? The funniest conspiracy that I find out there, and people said this about Jameis too, when it was like Jameis and Andy Dalton, is that they think that like the coaching staff is calling worse plays intentionally to make him look bad, because they want the other guy, and it's like, if they wanted to do that, they could just not play Spencer. No one would complain if they were like, actually, we're going to go with the rookie we drafted. This team has gone so far out of their way to give Spencer a legitimate chance in this competition that they did not have to. But there's still people who are like, they just didn't call the good plays when he was in. I'm like, come on, what are you talking about? Like, that's so stupid. Like, you think Kellen wants his offense to look bad? No. Anyway,
we didn't go in the ups and down the studs and duds, but overall, I would say Coach Moore and the staff, looking good for at least game one action.
In what respect?
The call of the game overall, I just felt like, we didn't see anything too exotic. We knew it was going to be vanilla, but overall, I thought Kellen and crew looked decent out there. It wasn't like a team that was in total shambles and felt like a first-year crew kind of thing.
There were too many penalties, and that's been an issue throughout the season, throughout the training camp. So I'm going to give them a little criticism for that because, obviously the players are the ones out there when they get penalties, but it's on the coaching to, set the standard. And I just think to this point, there's been too many. So hopefully they figure that out. But
there was a lot in the first half, and they didn't have so many in the second, at least. Things kind of, things started out sloppier than it ended.
Yeah, and I'm just pointing it out. Like, that's been an issue for this team, is sloppy. It's a little bit too sloppy. And I think part of that, especially on offense, is, that's the quarterback competition, right? Like, you're constantly, you don't know whether you're coming or going. There's a different guy in there, and you don't get especially with like the cadence, and both these guys have slightly different, timing with their inflections, and it's just something to, not both these guys communicate things exactly the same way. And I think that's part of why you might be a little sloppier than you'd hope to see at this stage. That's something they need to iron out. So if you're bringing up the coaching staff, you do have to mention, that. All right. One more from 504 Coast says, Rattler ain't jump off the porch yet. Shedeur did a backflip off the porch. Okay. He's talking, we had that long analogy of the steps in the last one. I think that's what he's talking about is the porch. But the Shedeur stuff, come on, guys. One thing that annoys me, and we can end on this, is like, I haven't watched Shedeur's game. I have seen some highlights.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people tell me how great Shedeur played the entire game. They're like, he played so great. And I'm like, how many snaps of that game would you say you watched? Did you watch the whole game? Did you go and watch the Browns in the preseason to have your assessment of Shedeur? Or are they based off of 2 snaps? Because I think in most cases, it's based off of like 2 to 3 snaps that you saw on Twitter, and suddenly he had a good game. And I'm not saying he didn't have a good game. I'm just saying, if you're basing your opinion of whether Shedeur played well off of what you saw someone say about him on Twitter, who probably also didn't watch the game, then I don't take your take seriously. Because I'm not going to pretend I watched the game. But so many people seem to be convinced that like he had this amazing preseason game. And I would be stunned if like most of them even like kind of halfway watched it.
I saw a good chunk of it. I definitely did. And the biggest thing I'll say is like, yeah, great showing. Want to see more of Shedeur too. But his problem is still holding on to the damn ball too much and going backwards.
Yes, that is something that like. One of the clips I did see is one of his big problems, which is he tries to escape backwards way too much. And you see that from young quarterbacks, right? Tyler had a play like that where it was like, you gotta make a decision, right? Get the ball out, run, do something. You just can't. And that was the play he got sacked on, which is like, you have a check down, take it. You can't just extend. The athletes are too good in the NFL, and like, I'm not even down on Shedeur. I just think it's funny. Like, so many people are, one preseason game and suddenly it's like, Shedeur. I'm rooting for Shedeur. I am. I just think the toxicity that goes along with it is annoying. Like, why can't we root for all of them? Why does it have to be one or the other? Anyway.
You mentioned that toxicity with social. That's the bad thing with social media, because, man, growing up, I didn't have it where it was instantaneous, the highlight that just happened and people are already tweeting it out.
Yeah.
I had to wait till at least the ESPN highlights.
It was so funny to watch the kind of whiplash that was going on with Tyler's game, right? Because he gets in, it's the 2-minute scenario, and it's like, he goes down for field goal. It's like, everyone better apologize to Tyler Shough. And then the second half starts and he throws the pick six. I'm like, he's trash. I can't believe they took this guy over Shedeur. And then the next drive, he throws the touchdown. And it's like, wow, everyone better apologize again. And it's just so funny because it's like, no, that's just what a rookie is, right? That's just how rookies play. They have highs and lows. But it's all like this. It's all or nothing all the time in analysis these days. And, it's like, and to be fair, it's not like we can get on and record a 90-minute podcast after every play. So everyone wants an immediate reaction. So you give it to them. But like, I don't know. It's so agenda driven. And I talked about this last year with like Derek Carr. Like, so many Spencer Rattler fans don't seem to be Spencer Rattler fans anymore because Derek Carr's gone. Now they're Shedeur fans. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I think a lot of folks, I even think the Spencer Hive, whatever you want to call the Rattler's Den has been quiet for sure.
I mean, I still hear a lot of. I'm not saying like no one's out here supporting Spencer Rattler, but like so much of the noise last year was like anyone else. Give me anybody else. Oh, I actually found someone to give my Derek Carr cards to out in L.A. Because I was just over.
You must have ran into Derek's wife.
No, well, I was over grabbing my bag, and I just had a couple of the cards in the bag just in case like someone came up to me and said, "Hey, listen to the podcast," so I could whatever. But it was just a kid. He was in a Saints jersey, and then a kid next to him was wearing it. It's like, is that a Derek Carr jersey? And it wasn't a Saints Derek Carr jersey. It was a Raiders Derek Carr jersey. And he was like, yeah, because I mean, it's number 4 in a silver and black jersey. It's good odds. And I was like, hey, here you go. No one in New Orleans wants these, so I'm glad I found you. And I gave it to him. He was so excited.
What a great ending to the Derek Carr card saga.
Yeah, so I don't even have those anymore.
Nice.
But yeah, I thought that was funny. Anyway, let's take a quick break. Again, this is Inside Black and Gold. I'm Jeff Nowak. We're going through the mailbag here after the Saints faced the Chargers, went down 27-13 in the preseason opener. My pearls, or I don't even know what I'm saying. It was a bop. It was a vibe.
I'm still in shock. I'm just trying to comprehend an actual Derek Carr fan.
Guys, he's not even here anymore. Stop being so mean to the guy.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I mean, California. He's got fans in California. He's from here. Played at Fresno State.
I was gonna say, must be a Fresno fan. I don't know if he was really like Raiders fans are like, oh my God, we miss Derek.
I mean, I think Raiders fans like Derek.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come right back. I'm Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. Subscribe. Stick around. And we're back inside Black and Gold, coming at you with a live mailbag. This is Monday. We're recording this on Monday. So if we post this on Tuesday and things have happened since Monday and you're like, why aren't you talking about this? It's because we recorded it on Monday. Just getting into viewer comments, questions, hot takes after the Saints fell to the Chargers 27-13. 10 of those points were Tyler Shough drives. 3 of those points was a Jake Haener drive at the end, it was funny to see people reacting to like, why are the Saints kicking a field goal down 17 with 13 seconds left? And it was like, oh, because they want to see the kicker. All right. But yeah, one thing we didn't mention that we haven't mentioned his name, does deserve a little bit of credit. We have a comment in here. So let's see. I just want to find it. 992 RS says Clyde had the block for the long touchdown pass. He did. I don't think Clyde had a great game. But he did. I mean, you can't run a double move unless you have pass protection, right? Like a lot is people are like, well, I don't run double moves all the time. Well,
yeah, every freaking route.
Right. Like if there's a legitimate pass rush, you don't have time to throw that ball. Like you only get to throw that ball if Mason Tipton has the amount of time necessary to take 8 steps, stutter, and then take 8 more steps, right? It is funny when you watch that replay, just how heavily the Chargers DBs were jumping on underneath routes. Like it was a fine route by Mason. It was not, you're not going to hang that route in the Louvre. Like it was okay. The DB just never thought for a second that he was going anywhere but underneath.
Correct.
So it's it was well executed. But like, you're not going to, it's funny because I was talking to Deuce about this. Like, you can run that play there, but that probably doesn't work if Chris Olave, it's the inverse. Like that pick six probably doesn't happen if Chris Olave is out there because you're going to have to respect his route tree more than you would respect Dante Pettis' route tree. So you're willing to sit on stuff against Dante Pettis. It's funny because that over the top throw also probably doesn't happen if it's Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed. Not in the sense that you can't hit them deep, but in the sense that no DB is going to get their lunch money stolen like that against Rashid Shaheed, because they're going to be like, oh, he's going to double move me all day long. Like, he's like, I need to give him an extra 8 yards of cushion just to keep up with him. I'm not jumping stuff. So it is, when you talk about, hey, how does an elite wide receiver, like when we talk about Spencer Rattler last year, not playing a single game with Rashid Shaheed or Chris Olave, really, like, that's what the impact is. Like, the defense plays differently when those guys are in there.
Yeah, and I'm curious how much of the guys, like we mentioned with, even I'll throw Juwan in that mix, who gets to some action on the preseason game number 2 just to see how that rolls?
I think you'll see basically everybody. I think the second preseason game is now the third preseason game. If that makes sense. Like, that's how it's changed.
I got you.
Unless you're the Chargers, who were in their second preseason game. Like, that's the other thing that we probably haven't talked about enough. This was the Saints' first preseason game. It was the Chargers' second preseason game. So there's a little bit more fine-tuning that's gone on for that group than it has for the Saints. Now, I don't think that changes a ton, but it is something to mention. Everyone likes Stutzman. Is Stutzman, like, is it a personality thing that people like Stutzman, or are they just really enamored with his play? Because I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I definitely think there's that buzz around him because of, being a big linebacker on this team and having, the personality or the color to go with it. You know what I mean? He's not just a boring player saying the same old thing.
He's an easy guy to root for.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always guys like that who, like that. Who's trying to think, like, who's the ultimate, like, 10% player and 90% vibes guy in, like, Saints history? Like, there's got to be some. Like, maybe was it Quan Alexander?
Quan was huge vibes.
Right. There's certain players that, like, they stick around not because their production is anything great, but because their persona is large enough that people just like them. And so they're willing to look past some stuff. Is it Jameis? Is Jameis the ultimate answer to that? I think it might be Jameis.
I don't know. I'm not part of the Jameis fandom.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, what they did in the uniform versus how they're remembered in the uniform.
I don't know. For me, it's ridiculous what people think Jameis did for the Saints.
Well, that's my point. Is, like, but the vibes are so, and that's true of, like, everywhere. Like, even at the Browns last year, I feel like the vibes are so much higher than the results. But, like, I'm curious if people have answers to that question, like, who is the ultimate 10% player, 90% vibes that we still talk about like they were elite? Give me your answers. You
mentioned with Stutzman too. What popped into my head, even draft night, I think that it was one of his old tweets or Instagram posts came out about he's that cracker bringing the juice on communion or something.
Well, he said he's like I'm like communion, the cracker with the juice.
Yeah, there you go. I butchered it.
Yeah, you probably should get it right. Otherwise, it comes off a little weird. But yeah. Anyway, a few more. John says Shedeur played 3.2 quarters, I think 3.5 quarters, and went 14 for 23 for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. People are ready to retire his jersey and build a statue of him. They did retire his jersey at Colorado. He didn't do that much more than that. So
hey, with all the scrutiny he got, and good for Shedeur. Yeah, there's not like anything negative about it, but yeah. People are gonna overhype it way too freaking much.
I don't want it to come off like I'm being negative on Shedeur. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he was able to go out there and play well in a situation where there's a microscope on him.
Right. Everything he does.
But like, what's going to end up happening is he's probably going to go out in week 2 and struggle. And suddenly it's going to be this whole opposite tidal wave of like, I told you he was trash. I'm like, I hate it. It's so
I will see for the Browns, at least, it kind of feels for them right now. I don't think you're going to give up on Gabriel. Joe Flacco's not going anywhere. So sorry, Kenny Pickett.
They signed somebody else too. They signed a 5th guy.
Will Kenny Pickett end up in New Orleans?
That's a good question. I wouldn't hate it. We had a question that says, are the Saints going to keep 3 quarterbacks? Demetrius James says, will it keep 3 quarterbacks? I don't know. Like, I'm starting to think Jake Haener is going to be grumpy about this situation. Like, I think they'd like to keep Jake Haener, but will he create a toxic environment? And I'm not saying he is, but like, I don't know. When you're in that situation and you feel like you're constantly getting kind of, tripped on your way to the line, it just like when I saw in the first scrimmage, they gave so many reps to Spencer and Tyler, and then the first rep for Jake was with the third team against the ones on defense. And I was like, man, he's not getting any favors here. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm unsure right now. I have to see how they handle this the rest of the way.
And will we ever see Hunter Deckers throw a pass again?
I was wondering if he might get into the game yesterday because Jake went down. He got hit pretty hard, and I was like, "Oh, is he going to have to come out?" And they're like, "I don't want to put Shough back in. He's got his knees banged up, and they don't want to put Spencer back in because he's been cold for an hour at this point. So it's like maybe they'll just because I guess they're all active, right? Like there's no inactive players.
I don't
He's in
think
uniform,
so, right?
He can play. And I was like, maybe they send Hunter in there, just say, go for it, kid. See if they know what a lefty looks like. But
maybe preseason game number 3, we'll finally see. They'll unleash Deckers on us.
They clearly like him, or they wouldn't bring him back.
The whole scenario, I don't understand why it had to go the transaction the way it did with the punter QB drop ad kind of deal.
I think they were just like, hey, Hunter, stick around. No one's going to claim you on waivers. Right. And they cut Moochie Dixon during the game yesterday. So he was hurt, though.
But for me, right off the bat, though, why not just part ways with Hayball? Or don't tell me you weren't sure yet.
I don't know, man.
It just like I said, not the why it was done, but just how. I was curious of why you added the punter, cut him, then brought him back and cut the other punter.
My guess is they claimed Kai Kroger on waivers. They weren't sure they were going to get him or not. Once the waiver claim went through, they didn't want to just cut Matt Hayball without communicating to him first. So they were like, we're going to waive the quarterback, and then we're going to figure this out with Matt, and then we're going to move on. I think it's a lot of when you have roster transactions like that, a lot of it is not, I don't want to say posturing, but it is ego massaging. It is like, I want to make sure that this doesn't appear as if we just threw this guy to the curb, right? Because he's an incumbent player. So you want to sit and talk with him. I'm sure Phil Galliano doesn't want to just send this guy. I'm sure he wants to sit down and explain to him the situation. So
see, I look at it as if I'm Hunter Deckers, I'm like, I was cut for a punter, a third punter.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like getting laid off so they can buy another photocopier. But yeah, no, I mean, and he's back. So I think it's just easier to communicate to the 4th string quarterback who hasn't gotten a snap than the incumbent punter from last year. I think it's a little bit more complicated. Anyway, MD23 says Rattler did the best he could considering they tried to establish the run more with him behind center. Whereas when Shough came in for the 2-minute drill, there was more passing. I don't think that it was, it's like, I get why you're saying this, but it's more so just the situation of the game because they're going to try to establish the run early in the game. I don't think that Tyler Shough was better off for not having the team try to run the ball. I think any quarterback would prefer a run game. And there was a couple positive runs early in the game. It just didn't, it's not Tyler's fault that they went for, it's not Spencer's fault they went for it on 4th and 1 and got stuffed 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Did we see a run over 10 yards?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But that can't be your standard of did they have any successful runs in a preseason game where you're only getting 3 chances? Kendry's longest run was Rattler had an 11-yard run.
Someone bust something.
Well, Kendry had an 8-yard run.
Yeah.
He had, it's funny. He was 6 for 15, 2.5, it changes a lot when you have your final run of the day was -3 yards, so it's now 6 instead of it was 5 for 18, which is a much better number. It's somewhere above 3, and then your last run is -3, so suddenly it's 2.5. But
hey, just like we say with the QBs, it all counts.
Yeah, Bobby says that. I think that's the dumbest take, that if we're complaining about the run defense, we should talk about the QB runs. Because, yes, if they're calling QB runs and you're not handling the QB run, that's on your run defense. If it's a quarterback running around in the backfield and then scrambling, that has nothing to do with your run defense. That's your quarterback
containment.
Yes, but you can't, if we can't, it doesn't make sense to say those are the same thing, because they're not. You have to deal with both of them, but lumping them into the same conversation because they're both rushing yards, that doesn't make you any better. You have to say, why aren't we containing the quarterback? Why aren't we stopping the traditional run game? Lumping it all together and saying, I only care about this one number, that just doesn't make sense to me. Because, quarterback runs are an issue, but stopping the run is a different conversation.
Well, QB runs and stopping the run, whoever you want to stop, just the ground defense has not been acceptable.
I guess I thought they played the run pretty well yesterday. So I don't know.
I felt there were too many times I was 4 or 5 yards, 7 yards.
I guess they did run the ball a ton.
Yeah.
So I mean, Sanders had 10 carries, Haskins had 6, Vidal had 6, Miller Hines. I don't know when he stopped.
Haskins was a dude. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Hassan Haskins. He's been around for a while. Went to Michigan. He's a big name coming out of Michigan. Miller Hines has been around forever, but he was Naheem Hines. He's Miller Hines.
Yeah, right.
But he's been around for a long time. I don't know. We'll see. I think Devon Gottschall is going to be a major piece of your run defense. He didn't play. Your standard defensive ends didn't play. Foskey got run around too many times. He's not going to play. So I don't know. I just think you have to be able to talk about QB scrambles and the run defense as two separate things, because they're completely different things. Because when their guy is back there trying to pass, you're not playing the run. Now you have to contain him, and that's something the Saints have struggled with over the years.
Unfortunately,
but it has nothing to do with.
I was going to say, unfortunately, from the Chargers, we didn't get to see Omarion Hampton at all.
Yeah, true. Was second round pick,
right?
North Carolina. It's funny because he was comped to Deuce McAllister, which I see when I watch him on tape. I see it. Oh, you want to hear something funny? I was watching Bar Rescue today, and who should show up on my TV screen but Deuce McAllister?
What?
Yeah, it was an episode that they did in Denham Springs after the floods in 2016, and the bar kind of got, they fixed up the bar, and I guess Deuce, they were like, hey, Deuce, come be in an episode and paint. And it was just like, Deuce, what are you doing? What are you doing on my TV? Anyway, yeah.
That's funny. Seeing sometimes with Family Feud, I've seen DeMario Davis and Cam Jordan pop up.
Yeah. It is funny. Occasionally it's just like, oh yeah, that's right. They are. I see a lot of Little Caesars commercials with Cam over the years.
Yeah.
John says the Saints look better against the Chargers than Detroit looked against them last week. I can't say I watched that game.
Well, I think Detroit had 5 turnovers. We had 3.
Yeah, it was also the Hall of Fame game, which no one's ready to play in that game. Jake from State Farm Hainer. It's okay. You know what? One year I dressed up for Halloween as Jake from State Farm. It's funny how that has turned into a massive branding thing, and it's not even the guy that actually is the reason that Jake from State Farm exists. It's a completely different guy.
Right.
Pammy Whammy says Pelicans she's responding to Pelicans. Noah says absolutely miss Jameis.
Why did the Pelicans miss him?
No, it's the person's YouTube name is Pelicans.
Oh, I got you. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he, like a regular at Pels games?
Yeah. Anyway, all right. I think that's it. Anything else you want to hit? And or we can close this out and say, see you next time, LA Chargers.
Well, we won't see him this year, though. You mentioned joint sessions. Is it a little weird you're going to do joint practices with a team you do play in the regular season?
Yeah, a little bit. You don't see that very often, but
Right.
yeah, we'll see if that it'll only be one day, and you play them late enough in the year that like I don't know, but yeah, if we are going to be back out here, what week? I can't remember.
Oh, let me see offhand here.
But yeah, we are going to be back out here in LA, so I get to revisit SoFi for the 5th time in 3 seasons. But yeah, I am interested. One just this kind of an aside as you look that up.
Week 9, November 2nd.
Week 9. Yeah, so it's late enough in the year. Like things will be different. You might have a different quarterback by then than when he started the season with, right? But no, it's going to be interesting to see if how the Saints handle this first road trip of the season. This will be the last thing I say, because it reminds me of 2019. Remember, they went out to LA, and that was the year Drew Brees hurt his thumb, but they decided to stay they flew to Seattle and stayed in Seattle for the week ahead of that game because it was the first road trip of the season. It was extended on the West Coast. You didn't want to go there, fly back, fly there again. So they just stayed there. I would not be surprised one bit if the Saints decide, hey, we're going to go out to Seattle in week 3, which, just happens to be a situation where Seattle is involved in this again. And then we got Buffalo. So what do you maybe fly to Wisconsin and stay in Wisconsin? You go halfway, practice in lacrosse. You're laughing. I'm serious. Like, I think that's they may do this, is go out to Seattle, fly to lacrosse or somewhere that they have a facility they can practice at for a couple days, and then make the trip to Buffalo to save that travel time back.
Have you done a Seattle road trip yet?
No.
I think you're going to like it out there. And
I love Seattle. I've been to Seattle. I love Seattle.
Okay. That, and I love the stadium just because I felt like if I wanted Starbucks, all I had to do is turn. It was there and waiting for me. It's amazing. They will throw the coffee down your throat, Jeff.
But that's where Starbucks is like from.
I know, that's why it's so glorious. Everywhere.
Yeah, no, trust me. That is as a coffee guy, it's like 2 p.m. I'm drinking coffee. Like, Seattle is like the mecca. No, it's one of my favorite cities, actually. Like, I obviously love New Orleans. There aren't a lot of cities that I would move to. Like, if I, and feel good about a move. Like, I think Seattle is one of the cities that I would consider. I have been to. It's not. It used to be Qualcomm. Is it CenturyLink now? I can't remember. But I have been there to the stadium, but it was for a Seattle Sounders game.
Okay.
Soccer team.
Were you covering it or just as a fan?
Oh, I was just there for like a convention, so we just went to a game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, like I said, the press area, like it is coffee bonanza. Enjoy that. I love doing that Seattle trip, even though it takes forever.
Pelicans Nola says I'm at every Pelicans game, so there's your answer. This is actually.
I meant Jameis being at every game.
Yeah, I know what you meant, but it's actually Cam Jordan's burner, in case you're wondering. Most people don't know that. Anyway, all right. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller, Inside Black and Gold, closing out another long episode. We're going to have a lot of these post-game episodes throughout the season. Hopefully there's a lot more fun episodes to be had than we've been able to have the last couple seasons. And
officially, always, Jeff, I'm definitely a 3 o'clock kickoff guy. Sorry, I have to get that in there. Out of all of them, noon, like 3, or 7, give me 3.
We got plenty of them.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. It's a 1 o'clock start out here. Which is funny because I grew up on 1 o'clock starts on the East Coast. You know this. Yeah, you were from Jersey. Like, it took me so long to adjust to calling it a noon start, like 1 p.m. start. Anyway. But all right. Who dat? Go Saints. Thanks everyone who hung out. Another long episode. So I always appreciate everyone hanging out this long and dropping in questions, comments. Hit me up on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. Hit up Steve at Steve Geller WWL. Leave us a review. I haven't seen a new review in a while, so I'd love to see another one up there telling us how dumb we sound and all that good stuff. I checked out the Target today. It was California Target is a lot like Louisiana Target. So I just want you to know that. I got a shirt. Probably
more expensive, though, because I saw your gas prices post and I almost dropped.
Yeah, I bought like 5 things. It was $100. I bought I needed socks. So I lied. One more thing. This trip, I was like, am I going to do laundry or am I going to buy more clothes?
You bought more clothes.
I bought more clothes. I was like, I'm going to Target. I can go one of 2 ways. I can buy detergent or I can buy more socks and underwear. What's it going to be? And I went with the socks and underwear.
Can never have too much.
So, Yeah, so I got 4 more days. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it through. But all right. Who dat? Go Saints. Thanks, everyone.
Later, Saints
Talk to you
fans.
soon.
Thank you.
Peace.